Slovenia from 1980 till 1991. Hi, I'm Nataša Strlič, historian, museum consultant, curator dealing with Slovenian history after 1980, curator of several museum and photographic collections. My latest achievement, large illustrated book Independence, almost everything about the path to one's own country. In the last decade of socialist Yugoslavia, ninth largest European country, the 24 million strong state, Slovenia, the second smallest Yugoslav republic, entered with 1,900,000 inhabitants. In 1980, Yugoslavia was confronted with the death of President Josip Broz Tito, the undisputed authority in Yugoslavia, and the outbreak of economic, interethnic and political crisis. Tito visited Slovenia Bohinjska Bistrica for the last time in May 1979. On 4th of May 1980, after several months of treatment at Ljubljana Clinical Center, the head of state, the army and the party died. The match has been cancelled was the agreed sign that announced to leading Slovenian officials the final departure of 88-year-old Josip Broz Tito, the first of three pillars of Yugoslavia, in addition to the president, also the Yugoslav People's Army and League of Communists of Yugoslavia. The mass farewell to the president and the funeral in Belgrade marked the end of Tito's Yugoslavia. His death mask is today kept in our museum, the National Museum of Contemporary History. At the time of the death of its supreme commander, Josip Broz Tito, in 1980, the Yugoslav People's Army was a state within a state. With 260,000 soldiers, a strong party organization, mostly Serbian command staff, it was an uncontrolled consumer of the state budget. Despite the changes that it experienced at the outbreak of the social and economic crisis in the early 1980s, it was increasingly involved in political life as the only guardian of the integrity of the state and the political system, to which its system of organization and leadership was also adapted. After the death of President Josip Broz Tito, League of Communists of Slovenia achieved a record number of members, but then, due to the unsuccessful resolution of the general crisis, conflicting views about the future of the common state, and the gradual democratization of Slovenia, it began to lose influence and membership. The ending of its monopoly position in September 1989 and the departure of representatives of League of Communists of Slovenia from the 14th Extraordinary Congress of the League of Communists of Yugoslavia because of rejection of their reform initiatives in January 1990 encouraged the fall of the second pillar of Yugoslavia, the League of Communists of Yugoslavia. The Serbian leader Slobodan Milošević voted against the reform initiatives of League of Communists of Slovenia. The time of transition from the self-managed socialist system to a multi-party system in the 80s was characterized by all kinds of crises, economic, interethnic and political. Economic crisis erupted at the start of the 80s, also as a result of the previous imbalance between consumption and production. Because of its significant commodity reserves, Slovenia was better able to bear the supply problems than the remaining Yugoslav republics. Nevertheless, with rising inflation, it was impossible to avoid restricting purchases of certain basic consumer goods. This and occasional power cuts, and above all fuel coupons to restrict fuel use, and the almost simultaneous introduction of payment of a deposit when crossing the border, were firmly impressed on citizens' memories. It was also a time of consequent relaxation of the political space and the emergence of progressive individuals and groups that on various levels and in various fields of society shifted the boundaries of the permissible and each in their own way undermined the foundation of the system and the state. One of them was art collective Neue Slovenische Kunst, appeared in Slovenia in 1984. It brought together several artistic fields: music, theatre, design, architecture, video and film, and so on. Despite a worried public response, in the recent history of Slovenian art, Neue Slowenische Kunst made the greatest impact abroad. The music group Laibach was already founded in 1980, few months after Tito's death. The unification of Slovene society, which was also encouraged on an unconscious level by the success of Slovene winter athletes and the tourist campaign that unintentionally turned into a national one, continued intensely in the second half of the 80s with the mass mobilization of Slovene civil society. Slovenians strongly supported their athletes. The 14th Winter Olympic Games took place in the capital of Yugoslav Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Sarajevo, in February 1984. Slovenes also participated in their organization and implementation, erecting sports and tourist infrastructure, and with products of Slovenian companies, and above all with the success of Slovene athletes. Olympic note of alpine skier Bojan Križaj in the Slovene language was complemented by the first Yugoslav Winter Olympic medal by alpine skier Jure Franko. The Olympic mascot, the wolf Vučko, was created by the Slovenian painter Jože Trobec. Slovenia, My Country, tourist campaign which went public in 1984, was originally aimed at the inhabitants of Slovenia, intended to improve their attitude towards tourism and tourists. The slogan, Slovenia, My Country, and the symbol of a lime leaf conquered the citizens of Slovenia. In the atmosphere of generous social fermentation, the regional tourist campaign transformed into a national awakening, and the lime leaf became an all-Slovene symbol. Initiatives for the removal of the repressive articles of legislation, a wide variety of philosophical theory, and the growing criticism and influence of individual magazines such as the Students' Tribuna, Mladina, Problemi and Nova Revija, founded in 1982, created a space for democracy and an alternative to the existing cultural and political monopoly. In 1987, the groundbreaking issue 57 of Nova Revija was published, with opposition contributions for a Slovene national program. 16 authors demanded the respect of the right for self-governance, the constitutionalization of the state, according to Slovenian wishes, and stressed the importance of democratic changes. The Slovenian government condemned the contribution, but it did protect the magazine from federal persecution. In the spring of 1988, the Slovene State Security Service, at the demand of the Yugoslav Army's top leadership, arrested the publicist Janez Janša, the Yugoslav Army non-commissioned officer Ivan Boršnar, and the journalist David Tasić, on suspicion of revealing state secrets. The editor of Mladina, Franci Zavrl, was also charged. The Committee for the Protection of Human Rights was founded as a result, which brought together more than 1,000 different organizations and over 100,000 individuals, and it drew an immediate and mass response from Slovene society. The trial of the four in Serbo-Croat and behind closed doors at the military court in Ljubljana was accompanied by peaceful demonstrations. They reached a peak on 21st of June 1988 with a demonstration in Kongresni Trg in Ljubljana. The Slovene authorities, caught between increasingly vocal demands from the opposition and Belgrade's unitarism, started to relinquish their political monopoly. The opposition main declaration, with its obvious echo of the groundbreaking main declaration of 1918, opened the door to democracy. The main declaration, 1989, which was read by the poet Tone Pavček in May 1989, became the basic program of the Slovenian democratic opposition. It was signed by more than 100,000 people. In the 1980s, political opposition was growing in Slovenia, demanding the end to the governing monopoly of the League of Communists and the implementation of democracy. In May 1988, more as a professional association, the Slovenian Farmers Association was established. The majority of the political opposition parties were established in 1989. In the autumn of 1989, the socio-political organization of the self-governing socialist system began to change into political parties as well. In the end of 1989, the Slovenian Democratic Union, Slovenian Christian Democrats, the Social Democratic Alliance of Slovenia, and the Slovenian Farmers Association created Demos, Democratic Opposition of Slovenia, as a pre-election coalition. The president was Dr. Jože Pučnik, vice presidents were Dr. Dimitri Rupel and Lojze Peterle. In December 1989, the founding of political parties and democratic election were legalized based on the amendments to the Constitution of the Socialist Republic of Slovenia. The first democratic elections after the Second World War were held in April 1990. Candidates of 9 parties, representatives of the Italian-Hungarian minorities, and some independent candidates were elected into the Three-House Assembly of the Republic of Slovenia. 4 members of the Presidency of the Republic of Slovenia were elected directly. The President of the Presidency, Milan Kučan, was elected in the second round of elections. Demos got key assembly and government function in May 1990. The president of the assembly was Dr. France Bučar. The president of the government, then still the executive council of the Assembly of the Republic of Slovenia, was Lojze Peterle. On 23rd of December 1990, in a referendum that saw 93% participation, and on the basis of the right of nations to self-determination, 88.5% of the citizens of Slovenia voted in favor of life in an independent country. They circled yes, which was the answer to the question, should the Republic of Slovenia become an independent and sovereign state? The decision of all citizens about the independence and sovereignty of the Republic of Slovenia is one of the key events of achieving Slovenian independence. In the next 6 months, the Slovenian authorities had to prepare everything necessary for economic, political, military and foreign policy withdrawal from Yugoslavia. The national symbols, the flag and the coat of arms were adopted by the Assembly of the Republic of Slovenia on 24th of June 1991 and the anthem at the end of March 1990. The anthem is the 7th stanza of France Prešern's poems Drolica, a toast, to a melody from the choral composition of the same name by the composer Stanko Primoran. Slovenia announced that it had declared independence on 26th of June 1991, but this had actually happened the day before. Fearing that the federal authorities in the Yugoslav capital, Beograd, would like to prevent this, the deputies of the Assembly adopted a package of independence documents on the evening of June 25, 1991, declaring Slovenia to be an independent state. On June 26, 1991, the day after the adoption of the independence documents, a ceremony was held in Trg Republike in Ljubljana to declare the independence of the Republic of Slovenia. The 13.5 meter long and 2.67 meter wide Slovene flag fluttered at the event proclaiming Slovenian independence. Today is stored in the National Museum of Contemporary History. Even before the evening event, members of Yugoslav People's Army armored units advanced from the barracks in Pivka and Ilirska Bistrica towards the Slovene-Italian border. In the early hours of the next day, 27th of June 1991, the organized attack on Slovenia by the Yugoslav People's Army started. Units of the Yugoslav People's Army from the Republic of Croatia and Slovenia advanced towards the border crossing with Italy, Austria, Banik Airport and the capital Ljubljana. The main aim was to establish control of the state borders and collection of federal custom duties. The military intervention in Slovene Yugoslav army was carried out by the command of the 5th Army Region in Zagreb, Croatia. The aggression by the multinational Yugoslav army was successfully repulsed by members of the Slovene Defense Forces, Territorial Defense and the police forces, together with the support system of the civil defense. The fighting took place in a number of Slovene locations, cost human lives and wounded, both military and civilian, and also caused a great deal of material damage. The international public was informed about the invasion by the Yugoslav army at very well attended press conferences. The war, defense of Slovenia, lasted 10 days and cost 89 lives, according to my museum colleague Irena Uršič Datas. On the intervention of the European 12 on 7th of June 1991, negotiations started in Tito's former residence on the Croatian island of Brioni, among representatives of Slovenia, Croatia, the federal authorities and the Troika of the European Community. After 15 hours of separate negotiations under the leadership of Dutch Foreign Minister Hans van der Broek, a joint so-called Brioni Declaration was adopted. Slovene independence measures were frozen for 3 months. On 8th of October 1991, after the expiry of the Brioni moratorium, which froze Slovene independence for 3 months, the Republic of Slovenia again began to implement the Control of the State Border Act. The Assembly of the Republic of Slovenia, after a long debate of the name of the new currency, adopted the monetary unit of the Republic of Slovenia Act in the early hours of 8th of October 1991. Slovenia obtained its own currency, the tolar and cents. On the same day, the Bank of Slovenia put value coupons into circulation as a temporary currency. The regular exchange with Yugoslav dinars was completed in 3 days, from 9th to 11th October, at a rate of 1 by 1. The army began to leave Slovenia on 20th October 1991. Soldiers of the Yugoslav People's Army finally left Slovene territory through the port of Koper on the night of 26 October 1991. Major General Jan Slapper reported this to President Milan Kučan at an afternoon ceremony in Koper.